welcome back to the Will Is podcast. Let me straighten my camera out right here. Let me straighten this out. We got the wrong. Yeah, we got to switch out. Here we go. How you guys doing? We are back. I'm back with Dr. AE. This is the Will Is podcast. So here we are. Tonight's show. It's gonna be a little. We're gonna have to. We're gonna make it quick. We're gonna be heavy and powerful and bring the information properly, like we always do. So here we go. This is the Assault on America show with Dr. A.E. Dixon. So check it out. Some real challenging situations that's going on in America right now, but everybody's acting like it's so brand new. It's like, oh my gosh, we've never seen anything like this. This has never happened before. Oh, we, well, this is assault. It's an assault on senators and citizens and immigrants and oh my gosh, and this is so atrocious and awful. But let's walk back. Let's walk back about 60, 50, 70, and beyond. Let's say we've never America has not been a democratic society for all. I can never recall a time. I mean, we was making leaps and bounds, making progress. Really starting to kind of shape up as something that kind of looks like it's fair. But you got to understand when you have one group that controls all nine areas of activity, practicing, you know, a extremely unfair, unjust system. Because how many times have we seen shows on CNN? Two Americas. Oh, justice only exists for some and not others. Oh, A Time to Kill, Mississippi Burning, Rosewood. I mean, it's like being delectable all at the same time when people make entertainment out of your pain. Because those stories weren't made for black people to watch them. We went through them. That was for the world to be educated on how callous, disgusting, grotesque, and downright goddamn evil some people are. And I refuse to just make it about just, Caucasians or light melanated complected people. I'm talking about the wickedness that goes on and how capitulant a dark melanated person could be, which is why we call some dark melanated all skin folk ain't kinfolk. But I want Dr. AE to kind of break down why, from his perspective as well, why is there an assault on America and why has it always been? Has it just got this way? I'm trying to figure this out because the way the media shapes it is as if this has never happened before. So, hey, come on now, I want your expertise. I know we're excited to hear what you got to say, for sure.
Well, you're right to a certain extent in that most of the claims for this country concerning democracy has has been primarily theoretically, right? The practical applications have always been different, right? From the very beginning.
Sure.
And we've discussed that before. From the very beginning with this, all men are created equal, right? That was very good theoretically, but it took this country what almost 200 years to actually begin to practically apply that theoretical application that every man is created equal, right? And so the issue is, right, the primary issue now is that we live in a day and time, right, where the all of the tools and the tactics and the things that have been done to ensure that that white American culture remains the dominant culture and that white Americans continue to enjoy the privileges thereof that being white brings them in this country, it's all in the light now. You know, you can't just say, you know, for a period of time, they've always tried to have this idea and push this ideology that it was the South, that all the racial problems, it's the South. But historically, we know some of the worst race riots occurred outside of the South. You know, the St. Louis riot, um, in the Midwest. The Midwest has had some of the worst riots. We know that there was a restriction when Oregon went from a territory to statehood, where they restricted the number of African Americans that could even come and live in the state. So that whole ideology of how they constructed this problem of race and whatnot, trying to restrict it to just the South, um, has now been debunked, right? Because we're in that age of information, and you can't hide these things anymore, right? So you can't just try to minimize it, saying that it's a Southern problem, or it's a this or it's that. No, it's an American problem, right? And so now there is this outright, even harder push for white Americans, and not all white Americans, but let's call it like it is, most white Americans, because if it weren't most white Americans, Trump would not have been in office. He wouldn't have made it
Well,
in.
they're capitulant, right? They're capitulant.
And right, exactly. So
And
to
silence,
some certain degree, they're all agreeing, right? To a
silence is
certain degree,
violence.
not all, but the vast majority are agreeing that we're going to do certain things to ensure that white American culture remains the dominant culture, and that white Americans continue to have the advantages thereof that they've always had, right? And so we see all different types of instances where that is changing, right? I just heard something tonight, and it has always been true, right? A white woman tears brings the police,
Yes, indeed.
regardless to why she is crying, right? Her
Yes.
tears are going to bring the police. And so we're seeing, you know, in this age of information and with social media and all of these things, right? How when they police come, they find out that those tears aren't any violation for someone else's rights, right? So they can't just arrest that person the way
And that's
you
the
used
majority
to.
of the time.
There really was a time when you could be arrested for, quote unquote, hurting a white person's feelings, particularly a white woman's feelings.
That's correct. That's
And
a
so
fact.
now, you know, you can't just do that anymore. We live in that time, right? And that's just one example. Now, when we're looking at what's happening in California right now, what we're witnessing is an all-out push, right, to ensure that brown and black people do not outnumber white people, such that their, quote unquote, and we've heard it before, their disposition occurs, meaning they lose the advantages thereof. You know, and they are doing everything they can. And I want to give you another quick example if I can.
Sure.
Now, when you look at certain documents, right? Even when you look at, I've seen it with a friend that was filling out an application, right? There is now a new category. I don't know if you know it or not, but there's a new category now. You have Hispanic, and then you have Hispanic non-white. So now white people are claiming some Hispanics as white Hispanics. And there are some Hispanics that want to be associated with white people. So they're pushing that.
I mean, check the
But
Cubans.
the fact of the matter is, right, they have now created this category, right, of
Yep.
Hispanic and then non-white Hispanic, which
Right.
means white people get to now claim some of the Hispanic numbers as being white so they can continue to justify, you know, uh, different things going to their neighborhood, right? Different things because we base it on the census, right? We
Sound
base
familiar?
how different groups of people get various things from the government and even tax base in some areas, some states do a lot of that on their tax base and all of that with population and all of that good stuff, right? And then income for that population and all of that, right?
Right.
And so on different affidavits, we're starting to see clearly Hispanic people being labeled, though, as white. And see, that's just another tactic that they are using so they can still keep their numbers up, because that's what it is all about. And
Absolutely.
what we're witnessing in California is that all out pushback against the tactics that they are using, because we've heard it, we have heard it, we've heard it on social media where people have been to these white rallies, where these predominantly white rallies, they've been to these earlier Trump rallies before he was elected president, where the slogan "Make America Great Again" was actually chanted in its underlining and true meaning, which was and is "Make America White Again," right? And so all of this that we're witnessing, this other category calling some Hispanics now white, uh, this major pushback we see where he's actually ready to militarize, you know, he's ready to militarize something in order to show and demonstrate and push back this this opposition to what they want to achieve, which is
So I got a
the
question.
continuance of white advantages
Mhm.
in this country and the
Just like
continuance
Stephen Miller,
of
right?
white American culture as being the
Question.
dominant culture. Because the thing about it is, right, and I told someone this years ago,
Hmm.
if we are not careful, right, if we are not careful, we are going to end up in a country where there are more brown and black people than others, right?
Hmm.
But white American culture is still going to be the dominant culture, and which means we will be in a form of cultural apartheid because the
Absolutely.
social norms will still
Benefit the minorities.
benefit, right, and the needle will still be on the other side of white American and white American culture. So we'll be in a state of cultural apartheid, right?
Yeah.
Where
Sure.
social norms. And so, you know, I I think that we have to recognize the fact that we need to be proactive instead of reactive, right? And so
Absolutely.
I did get a question. If I can push on a little further, if you don't mind, brother. But I
Go
did get a
ahead.
question on on Facebook today. Was it today?
Okay.
Yesterday? One of the two. Where a brother asked, why what is going on in California a concern for us? And I'm like, well, we have to understand this, that we are we are headed into what Walter Cronkite, the journalist, before he retired, he told us we were headed toward a true oligarchical society. And we've been there before, right, with the Southern oligarchy up until the
Yeah.
civil rights movement. But he warned us that we're headed toward an oligarchical society. And the only way that you can combat oligarchical measures is to implement social measures. That doesn't mean we have to become a socialist country, but
No, I understand.
you do have to implement socialist measures in order to combat an oligarchy. Now, the thing about it is, socialist measures come through what we have normally called progressive ideologies and progressive ideas, right? Ideas that are looking toward the future, and which was what I was talking about earlier about being proactive, right? Now, here's the point that I'm really trying to make when you understand that is that when you look at the ideologies of progressive, right? And these progressive ideologies, they are coming from African Americans and they are coming from Latinos. So as Latinos continue to push, particularly OAC, if we're talking about politics in Congress, right? OAC, she pushes a lot of progressive ideology. Jasmine Crockett pushed, whether you agree with her 100% or not, she pushes a lot of progressive ideology. So we should, as Black people, be concerned about what's going on in California and what's happening to Latinos, because they both groups, African Americans and Latinos, are the main two groups that are pushing against these oligarchical measures that is pushing us toward an oligarchical society. So as they push,
Hold on.
okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Hold on.
All right.
I got to step in on this one.
Okay.
All right. Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you, and I don't disagree with you, but ideologically, I don't identify. Reason saying is, let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we have to change our mentality. I always push understanding your position, knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, knowing how to get a skill set, knowing how to do things that are going to benefit you, your family, your community, and however, what have you. There are always ways to be progressive, not just one way. All I'm saying is we can teach our children to what we talked about before, go into Congress. We got to push them. We got to guide them in those directions. The reason why I'm telling you, I don't all the way agree with you, my brother. I don't. Because one thing about AOC, she may be progressive, but she also, and let me tell you something about progressives, period. They practice a great deal of disassociation with indigenous Americans, black Americans. It's a fight within that own party. We don't get the respect if that progressive or Democrats would have done two things. Listen to your base and do as I say. And don't practice, do as I say, not as I do. And don't play in my face with your little bum ass things that you got going on, putting everybody else above the indigenous class here. Latinos participated particularly in those areas. I have no sympathy for groups that will literally, if the shoe was on the other foot or things turned around, they'll put your ass the same way that white boy do you. Everybody ain't the
Well,
same. It's not a monolith. Let me get what I got. Let me finish
right,
what
I
I'm saying.
agree. Just like every brother has a
Everybody's not a
brother.
monolith. You dig? So you got whites. Everybody want to talk about whites. There are some whites that are far more progressive and also intrinsic with blacks than there are Latinos.
I agree.
Latinos and blacks share closer relationships in lineage, close relationships in geography, close relationships in ideology. But you know what that Latino do? You know what that Latino is like mostly? He's a divisive deceiver. Some of them, not all, that don't like you, but know he in a group with you. Hold on, know he in a group with you, but as soon as he get a chance to put his foot on your neck, he gonna do you the same way.
Well, see,
I
that's the whole thing, though. That's the whole thing, right?
Let me finish. I ain't finished making
They're
my point.
okay. Go
I
ahead.
gotta finish. I'm almost done. So the biggest problem that I see here is one is purely respect. These are very simple solutions. It's respect. Two, understand the true commentary in history that we discuss all the time on this show. History, commentary, the phases of this country, what it's going through. When you don't know those things, how do you get elected into office? Because you are put there. So we have to put our people there locally. Locally, if we live in these areas, we should have no one running for office that does not look like the dominant people that are in those areas. So we got to start understanding things from the grassroots, local. Go local, train your kids, understand how to make politics somewhat interesting because that's what shape, formulate everything in your life, especially from a local level. So when you understand these things and start understanding how everything affects your life, 18 years old, everything affects your life. Go and get involved in these systems because you're going to have people like AOC that I don't like because of her ways, and I see her ways. I understand her ways, and I don't disagree with her ways. I don't like her, and I got my reasons why I don't like her because you know what? Those people are tricky. They two-faced it, and they will use you as a damn pawn and tool to break. And when they get done with you, they're gonna break your ass too. That's how they operate. Now, until we can get some respect, I don't give a shit about AOC or Jasmine Crockett. You know why I don't? Because you got to come see me. I ain't got to come see you. That's the
But see,
thing.
that's the whole thing, though. Even if you disagree with them,
I
and
didn't say
it's
I
on
completely
that personal
disagree. I
level,
don't
you
like them
don't
and their
like them.
ideologies. I don't like their ideologies.
How can you? Okay, what part of their ideology don't you like if they're pushing this progressive
It's
agenda?
victimhood. But because for one, I got to see it play out. I don't trust the Democratic Party at all. Nothing that
Right.
they do play out well. It don't.
Well, see that, but we've had that discussion, right? What I've always said is this. What I have said is the likely future of the Democratic Party is going to be that progressive ideologies begin to
Sure.
push and take over even more. And when that does happen, right, you're going to get even less. You're going to get even less of those who truly hold on to some of those ideologies that allow white American culture to remain the dominant culture. And they're going to jump ship. Now, whether they're white, Hispanic, or even black, they're
There
still
you
going
go.
to jump ship. And that's what I'm saying to you. So we have to, at this point, right? If we were to break off and create our own party, it would
We don't have
it
the numbers.
would
That's
be
not.
it would be
We got to.
detrimental.
I'm talking about. I'm talking about creating ways. I'm talking about creating ways that are that's less about this and this and more about this. That's
But
all I'm
that's what I'm
saying.
saying. We're talking about what we're talking about then. We're talking about those who are culturally aware, right?
Right.
They are
Right.
aware of the fact that there are a group of people who have had advantages in this country long enough, and that those advantages have to stop.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter whether they white, purple, Japanese,
Thank you. That's
or
where
they
I'm
could be
going. I don't give a damn.
Apollonia.
I
They
don't
could be
care.
like Apollonia, right? A Latin German Jew. It doesn't matter. What we're talking about, those who are willing, right, to do something about the fact that there is a group of people who have remained and had for since the inception of this country an advantage, and it's been based primarily rather on this. It's also been on their economic standing when they came into this world too, right? Whatever economic bracket. So
Okay.
those things, right? And that's what
Sure.
I'm saying to you. But you have to, right? If you're talking about young people, right? And I think this is the silver lining. That's what I wanted to get to earlier. That's the silver lining, because these Latino males who majority voted for Trump, because they hold on to that ideology that, really that was a sexist ideology, that this
Same
woman
Latino
can,
male, same
right,
Latino male that'll be your friend, right? But soon as he get a piece
and
of
they're
power,
learning. That's the
what
whole.
he gonna
Hold on,
do?
let me finish. They are learning a very, very hard lesson right now, right?
Yeah.
And they're learning. But here's one of the things you got to understand, right? You got to understand this. They didn't even listen to their own people, because younger generations, right? When we're talking young Latinos, they understood.
Yeah.
It is the
I
ones
agree.
who've been brainwashed in all of this, for generations upon upon generations, that
Because the countries
advantages
that
go
they come from,
to the light-skinned people and all of that within the Latino
the
community,
countries
right?
that
We
they
see
come
that,
from,
right?
strongman
I mean,
countries, right?
but we have to come clean though, right, brother? Because we did it to
Yeah.
ourselves as well, right? The lighter skinned people in our own community we treat differently,
That happened.
right? And
No,
we'll
wait, wait,
just
wait,
get
wait. That didn't
into
happen both ways in our community. That didn't happen
right. That's
both
what I'm
ways.
saying. We have now gotten to the point, right?
Yeah.
We've gotten to the point where that blue black brother is just, or blue black sister is just has just as
Beautiful.
good of a shot and just as beautiful as that, what we call that light bright, right? And you know the rest.
Yeah.
So we had
Agree.
to progress. We had to progress on our own ourselves, right? So we have to continue to allow Latinos to progress to that point as well, because they were brainwashed too. So what I'm saying is, it's the older generation. It's those primarily older
I'm
males,
saying, hold.
our
Hey, I'm
age.
still something. I'm still something from Tariq Nasheed here. I advise everybody to hold their own nuts. That's the truth. The reason why I say hold your own nuts is because of the fact of two different reasons. Again, two different reasons. I always got two reasons why I say things. One, you
Okay.
got to be accountable. I
Right.
can't help you when you're not accountable and you don't acknowledge what you have done. When you acknowledge that, then we can have a conversation. Two, you can't say you acknowledge something and then don't acknowledge me. Don't acknowledge what my people have went through. The problem is people don't want to acknowledge, but they want to be sorry. Sorry is a sorry ass word. I don't give a shit about your sorry. What you should do is correct your fucking actions. Correct your actions. Don't nobody give a shit about your sorry. Your sorry got your sorry ass in this situation.
But
Corrective
that
action
that's the
means
whole thing. We cannot sit around and wait
it's
on them to
true.
correct their actions. We've tried
It's
that.
true.
We've tried that. That waiting on certain people to raise their morality and their ethics,
Fuck
that's
off.
over with. That moral suasion, yeah, that moral suasion, that's over with. Now
Period.
is the time. If you don't want to correct those actions, don't worry about it. We gonna correct them for you, because you
There
gonna
it
suffer.
is.
Just like those Latinos, that's why I said, just like those Latino males, right? Just like those Latino males that want to get on social media, and that woman that got on social media crying, talking about I was
Yeah.
wrong, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear what you gonna do now. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do now? Because we told you. We told you who Trump was. We told you what he was going to do. We told you he was going to follow Project 2025. When he sat there and told you, oh, Project 2025, I'm not even sure what that is. He knew what it was. He was all in on that. And you still went out there and you ignored everybody else who told you. People who've been in this country for generations told you. And you still went out and did it. So no, there's a certain degree where yeah, we got to let you suffer. You made that bed, you got to lie in it. You know what I'm saying? You got to lie in it to a certain extent, right?
Well, well, the
The
thing is,
question
when you want to
is
talk, when
what you gonna
you ready to
do
have a
now?
real conversation, when they ready to have a real conversation, we ain't never closed the door on nobody. We ain't never treated nobody like they was. We've never done that to no one.
And that's the whole thing. Your actions, we don't have to wait. Your actions coming right now. Midterm
Yeah.
elections are coming up. State, local elections coming up. Now, all them Trump people who you were riding with, who you showed your funky behind up to them conventions and to those rallies with,
Yeah.
they're about to ask you for your vote. Now, what you gonna do? Now, you gonna keep following this Trump supporter who you know is still supporting them Trump policies, or are you gonna get them out of office? And we're not talking about just who you sending to DC. We're talking about who you sending to Atlanta, who you sending to Tallahassee. You know, give me another capital right on.
Jackson, Mississippi. Who you
Yeah,
sending to
who you sending
Jackson?
to Jackson?
Who you sending to
Who you
Charlotte
sending to
and Raleigh?
Sacramento? You know, who you sending to Albany?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, who you sending there? Who you sending right there on your city council? Who you
St.
sending
Louis,
right
Missouri. Who
downtown?
you sending to them?
Right? If you knew they
Yeah.
was Trump, you saw them, you was at them Trump rallies and you saw them there, and they were up on the stage and they said a few words earlier that day. Okay, it's time for them to be reelected. Now, what are you gonna do? Because we don't want to hear you're sorry. Like you said, I'm in total agreement with you. I don't want to hear you're sorry. What I want to see is you out there campaigning to get rid of them at the midterm election. You campaigning on the local level. You showing up to say, yeah, this man, he was there. He lied. He a liar too. He followed Trump. He gonna do what Trump want to do. He gonna do more harm than good.
Get the ass up out of here.
That's what we waiting on, right? So what I'm saying is, and I understand what you're saying about AOC and whatnot, but there is a time, right? And we have to admit this, brother. There is a time when in politics you do have to choose between
You
the
have to
devil and the deep
compromise
blue.
and capitulate some that for the greater good in the whole. I get it. I understand. But I'm telling you that the problem is with me is just like people like to get their way. I like to get mine too. And I can't. The problem with
Well, see,
a position player like her is a position player like hers. I need her to bow the fuck down and do what she told, not because she a woman, not because it's not like that. It's because she be out of line. It's because I don't like her particular position on certain things, and I don't want to get in all into that. But I do like the way you like. I love progressive, but I like us to be involved in it. I don't like people to silo things. Like, oh, let's take Ilhan Omar. Another one I don't like, simply because she will put her whole nation over a citizen, an American citizen. She said it, she's done it, and she said she'll do it again. She don't need to be in Congress at all. She need to be out of Congress for saying shit like that. You see what I'm saying? I'm an America first person. America first. People that I know, people that come from my community, people that have been hurting, Everybody don't live, everybody ain't done well as me. My heart go out to people that I know of that are talented. They are wonderful. They need a chance. They want an opportunity. And it gets ripped away from calloused, destructive people that don't
Okay.
think and to look at other people like I don't look at white people as inhuman. I don't look at no beings on this planet as inhuman. I participated in the human experience. But you got people that lead pseudo history that are white in these old white men still believe in three-fifths human being, and they the one that's the three-fifth. They still believe in Darwinism. They still believe in pseudoscience. So I need to break them and their mentality for young white men. Then you got the young white men that are with the pseudo, what do you call them, the incels? They incels. They can't, these dudes can't even have sex with women. They're literally they're molecularly they're structurally in their brain, the way they have wired themselves. They're an incel. It means if they look at a real woman naked, they may not be able to function. They can't because they are so outside of masculinity, so outside of manhood. They don't even have any confidence. So they live in these false realities and these created concepts on video games and in their mind because they don't know how to associate. There's a lack of social social behaviors that are skills. We have no social skills anymore. So I'm trying to make sure young people understand a few things. You got to look at the whole of these equations and not just you know, like the victimhood of situations. I think young people are experiencing something that we have never experienced. When we grew up, times were a hell of a lot more plentiful, even though they were tough. And things were a lot cheaper as well. But when you live in a society, we can't really tell which phase of America, because the phases of America has never changed for indigenous black people, African Americans, black Americans, and people that wear melanin. It's never changed. All the phases are the same. All we have had is a little breathing room. Take the steam off the pot, let a few in. Is that right or wrong? They
Well, I
take the
agree.
culture, they take the culture and they give you some progression and they walk you back. That's creating rules as you go, making shit up as you go, so you can steady do this. Because the thing is, one thing I know you heard this saying before. Damn, you got your foot on my neck, but you can't move either.
Yeah,
You
you
got
can't
your
hold
foot
a
on my
person
neck,
down
you can't move either.
to a
What's that?
certain. You can't hold a person down without staying down to a certain degree yourself. But
You can't do it. So the progressive mentality is only applicable. They need to stop this. Make it applicable universally to Americans. If you know the things that have happened,
let me ask you
what's the
something. When you
threat?
say Americans,
What's the
right?
damn threat? What
What
was
do
that?
you mean by Americans when you say Americans? Do you mean just people from the United States as a whole?
No,
What?
I'm talking about American Indians. I'm talking about the people like my see the thing is, we talk a lot about these things. I take a lot of this shit personal because we talk about Africa, not us, not us, but I'm talking about as a whole. We'll talk about Africa. We'll talk about every other thing, but you never talk about what we talk about. We some of the only it's a lot more people talking about American indigenous stories. But when you have been murdered by the pen, none of these things have ever been addressed. You know what I'm saying? Like these are we built this country. This history has to be addressed. What we talk about, it's not popular. It's not universally known.
See that
I'm saying
I asked you that. That's why I asked you that because I knew that's what you ordered, but I wanted you to say it for the audience as well because what I truly believe, right, is that we have to continue to push the truth, right? In other words, and you and I have had this discussion before, right? That
yeah.
the whole argument about indigenous melanated people, right? That it has to be put together whether we put it, I think we should put it together as a people in whole. Even though, of course, I haven't found anything in my roots that say that I'm indigenous, right? Doesn't matter because I'm black first. I'm melanated first. So
Sure.
I think black first, period. I don't care if you from
But
Ethiopia,
culturally,
indigenous,
regardless,
but
culturally, you're a Westerner. You're culturally a Western
yes,
melanated person.
right. I agree wholeheartedly to that. And so what I'm saying is this, right? We have to present that, whether it's in and I like I said, I think it's on all phases. In a book, documentary, film, social media, all of these places, there has to be this solid, undisputable evidence from every region, South, Southeast, Californios, when we saw Californios, right? Um,
Northeast, Iroquois,
Northeast,
Algonquin.
Central America, South America.
Yes, South America.
All of this has to be put in one piece and provided to the world, right? Not
Absolutely. The
just academic,
world.
but to the public in general. And when you have that, right? When that information is put on such a platform and in such a manner that is undisputable, right? I believe, right? I truly believe that the issues that you have with like AOC and the others, I think may not all, but a lot of those issues will go away because you have to accept and understand the fact that to a certain degree, all of us have been brainwashed. All of us have been brainwashed to a certain degree. So just like when you look at Elaine, right? Um, Elaine, when she wrote, was it Elaine? Yeah, when she wrote Taste of Power, right? When she's talking about the Black Panthers, right? She said it came to a point where even they had to recognize, right? They had to accept and recognize how much white American culture and Western culture they actually have as well, right? In their
Yeah.
everyday life. So we have to move forward understanding that we're going to have to change everybody's mindset to a certain degree. Even the ones we think are with us, they still need some they need someone
Remedial.
to they need some knowledge to be imported on them as well so that they can understand what we are actually talking about when we say moving forward with these true progressive ideas. Because you're right, if you don't know the whole truth, you can't move fully in that direction, right?
Correct.
So
One more thing.
that's why I
And
said
another thing.
to that point, I agree with you.
Right. I just had one thing I had to add to what you were saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just adding to what you're saying to bring the point home a little closer. See, the thing is, I study profusely, just like you do, Doc. I study profusely. And you know this about me too. We've been friends long enough now. We spend a lot of time talk a lot. So you know. The thing is, the problem that I have is the fact that I'm not interested in making shit believable. I want you to know. You see what I'm saying? They need to know damn belief. I don't give a shit about that word belief because lies in the middle of it. I need you to know the truth. Because the truth don't give a shit about you or me, and it don't care who tell it. It stands on its own. It don't need you or me either, but it is gonna be. And that's just it. The truth is just gonna be. So the problems that these people have, they got, like I said, they gotta bring. Some of these folks got to be brought to their motherfucking knees, man. That's just what it is. Because your shit
Well, right.
ain't nobody shit gonna get right until it's corrected from the root. That's all I'm saying. So I don't respect people or they quote unquote so-called legitimate. You ain't legitimate. You ain't legitimate until you got it from the gut. You got it from the root. Call your shit off. Your shit is illegitimate. If you ain't talking about it from the root, you're fucked. That's how I see anything. Because it's cognitive dissonance. If it ain't nothing else. If you picking shit in the middle or picking shit, if you ain't addressing it from the root of the equation, your shit bullshit and it's trash. And that's just the facts. You can't get shit from cognitive dissonance. Only a persuasive, divisive positioning on somebody that wanted their fucking way. And they ain't gonna have it their goddamn way. It's gotta be the truth first. If it ain't the truth or the root, your shit fucked. That's for all y'all out here.
That's the
And
problem.
that's what it is.
If the truth is not going to, that's the problem that we're having, right? Because the truth may
Straight up.
not support their
Agenda.
form of their agenda. Right, agenda. That's the better word. So if it doesn't support their agenda, then they're not going to. But that's what I'm saying. We have to provide that proof
The
in such,
truth.
right, that they have to accept it, and then you have to move forward with this in mind. You have to move forward, especially because you are if we're talking in politics, you represent the people, you represent us, and this is how you have to move forward,
Damn right.
because sometimes we're going to align, sometimes we aren't. But here's the thing about it: the more you understand who you're supposed to be representing rather, then the better off we'll be in line, plain and simple.
Agreed.
So I definitely agree with you on that token,
Sure.
and that's my thing. I'm with you 100% on that. We can't just let these people, black, because there's been some black ones too. We can't let these black people who have gone against the grain, when we have provided them evidence, they still go against the grain, because let's call it really like it is. I have not met, now you may have, other people, everybody got their own experiences. I have not met a black conservative or a black Republican for that matter, right, who does not hold individualism and their individual ideologies and their own individual well-being behind what's best for the community. I haven't seen it
Damn.
yet. They are far more concerned about themselves and their pretty much their economic
Status.
stability, right? And their push on this religious belief, right? Because let's call it like it is what it is, and it's the truth. And you can get mad if you want, but the truth is the truth. White Anglo-Saxon Protestantism is super rigid, and it causes you to believe one way. And if you do not believe that way, then death and Hades and everything else coming to you, and they're rigid about it.
Yep.
But I won't get into that. I was about to say, I was about to give you a butt, but I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going there
We're
with
gonna
that.
get up out of here, man.
We're going to leave it at that, though. It is very rigid, right? And you could just look all the way back, go to Catholicism as well, right?
All the way through.
This is what started the Pueblo revolts.
Yep.
Out in the West, in Central America, in South America, right? Because they said, no, you either Jesus or no way. All this is pagan. All this is heathen. All this is heathen. All this is wrong, wrong, wrong. because it's Jesus. And it's the Jesus we believe in. Now, you got to believe that Jesus was white too now.
Right.
It ain't just Jesus, it's our Jesus. And so those rigid lines, right? And the individualism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are two lines that end up having, in my opinion, and everybody you can have your own too, but like I said, it's based on all of the black Republicans and conservatives I have talked to and met, right?
Yep.
It ends up being more acculturation than anything else. Because when you start talking to them about community, right, and the principles that have built black communities, where community first, family first, all of that, it is not in line with them anymore. They are concerned individually first to the utmost. And
Period.
then it is almost like that same idea that conservatives always talk. The trickle down effect is supposed to trickle down into community growth and everything else.
No,
So,
it don't never
uh,
get down that far. It trickles and stops
right.
and gets dispersed.
And at that point, it really just ends up being acculturation. You know,
That's it.
look at
That's it.
your primary. I tell people all the time, if this is not the case, why is it then your primary, your black conservatives who are out there in the public eye and achieve the most? Why, how is it that they, not most of them, in today's time, all of the ones that are out there, right? All of them just happen to be in an interracial marriage.
Just so happened.
Just so happen, right? Pick your top ones. Either one, pick them all. From Clarence Thomas to Candace Owens, pick one.
You can go to Herschel abusive
Not
ass.
political, but even the ones that are out there socially, that are out there doing these social commentaries and political commentaries and all.
Yeah.
Pick the ones, you
That's
know.
the ones they want.
For,
Those
for a
the
while,
that's those the ones they
look
want.
at Don Lemon. Don Lemon had to come to his awakening. But
He
look
got
at
a
them.
white husband too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. All of them. Now, come on now. Just so happened? Are you telling us that's happenstance?
It's
That
in their eyes, it's happenstance, and we all should do it.
no, that is, in my eyes, a clear indicator that black conservatism, when you place that as
It's
a mantra,
bootlicking.
right?
Bootlicking.
It can it basically transcends at the highest levels that are out there for us to see as pure occulturalism.
Yeah, and the coonism. Yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah.
I don't call them coons. I'm just gonna say that they acculturated. You know, I just say that
I
they're,
call it a cult coonism.
because
Coonism.
if I could talk to a black conservative, if a black conservative will meet me right now at one of these African American community centers or one of these African American museums and help me with the back to school project or after school project
I'm with it.
or one of
I'm
them,
with it.
I'm all with him or her.
Come on.
So I'm not gonna call them a coon if they, because I got some pro-black raise your fist. Yes, brother. Yes, sister.
Oh, no, they
But
they got
you know, but I can't
they go that way too.
and I can't get them to roll their sleeves up and show up and volunteer either. So if that black conservative will show up and help me, will help
I'm with
me
him.
edit this
I'm a
grant
rock with
I'm
him.
trying to write,
But
I'm
I'm
with
still
that black
pick him. I'm
conservative.
still pick at him. He
I don't want
if
to
he
hear
genuine, he
that.
gonna let me pick
I
at
don't
him
want
too.
assalamu alaikum. I don't want to hear that assalamu alaikum brother or
I don't
sister
either.
that won't show up when we say, hey,
Look,
listen, all
hey,
I is 10 volunteers to hand out these book bags, the first week in August.
but I'm still pick
You
on him. We just
know,
make jokes. That's in our culture. He can be a black conservative. I'm cool. Some people would even consider me a black conservative. I don't know how,
I'm
but I'm
with it.
considered that by some. But I'm not. But some would consider me a black conservative. I'm nowhere near one. But this is the thing. I'm still gonna fuck with you. I'm gonna still pick with you too, and it's all in fun. That's all I'm saying. It's part of culture. There's a problem with some people. They too goddamn sensitive. So they take they internalize too many things. I think something's wrong with people that internalize everything. I had to make a joke, but I will pick with them. I will do it. Can't help it.
You crazy.
You gotta take a joke. Hey, I'll work with anybody that's for the cause. I don't care. I don't care about interracial relationship. We kid, we joke. We don't care. Anybody that's for the cause, I mean,
I will say this though, you scare me now because let's call it like it is now. When you
what's that?
got culture, when you got one culture that is family first, community oriented, and all that, and then you got another culture that is individualist first and rugged
Yeah.
individualism in this country. It's very hard to see a relationship where
It won't
it's
be.
50.
It won't be. One has to dominate the other.
One is going to join the other
One
culture.
has to dominate the other.
Either that white dude gonna start talking like a brother, or that white woman gonna start trying to get her some
Well,
cornrows
they
and
gotta go one way or the other. They gotta
pork
go
chop,
one way or the other.
or the other way, right? That sister gonna end up like Candace. Know what I'm saying?
All I'm saying, but hold on.
It's
Let's not pervert. Let's not pervert this situation. Okay, you're
okay.
talking extremes.
No, I'm
Okay.
not. No, that's
No,
not.
no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the even people that I would deal with personally.
Oh
You got
yeah.
to be tolerable, palatable for me to even deal with you personally, for real
What
though.
I'm
That's all
saying,
I'm saying.
what I'm saying is, regardless,
Candace
it
Owens is not palatable. I'm not
it
trying
is
to do shit with Candace Owens. That's what I'm
it is
saying.
very hard. It is very hard to see an interracial couple, black and white, where
I know that. I got what you're
it is
saying.
truly a 50-50, where they are bringing both cultures
That shit
together.
don't. That oh man, come on.
50.
That don't always exist. You got biracial children out here that be saying, my mom and daddy hate each other. They call each other names. My mama called my daddy nigga, and she called me nigga too. That's that biracial kids say this shit. This I ain't making it up. That's what they say.
I just find it. I personally haven't seen one. I'm sure they are out there, but they are really just too few and far between because the cultures are on the opposite. Oh, brother, look like
They're
we got.
extremes. Post ends of the spectrum. Post ends of the spectrum. I got you.
You heard me?
I can't. I understand what you're saying. That's this, like you say, it's too extreme. So therefore, you gotta what. It's those situations are like this. I think like you gotta either the black dude was kind of raised with around whites or whatever, or the white girl was like a little gutter snipe that was raised around a whole bunch of black folks. You know what I'm saying? In poverty, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of whites and blacks that are raised in poverty together, and then they have these what you call children out of having what their parents would call gutter sex. Okay,
Gutter
that's
set.
what their parents call it. Or
Ah,
back in our day, we called it jungle fever.
what's a gutter set?
I know gutter sex, meaning
Oh,
playing on the other side of the tracks.
oh.
Gutter sex.
So what you about is what you said secondary, right? Jungle fever.
Secondary, what we called it jungle fever. You know, back in
Okay,
our day, that's what we called it,
right.
jungle
That's
fever.
what I
So
understood. Jungle fever. I didn't understand that other one. That's a new one on me, brother. That's a new one on me.
yeah, that's what they say it is because it's like the thing about it is it's a lot of people have these little hankerings for some black dudes got a hankering for a white girl. Some white girls got a hankering for a black dude. They put it out. They putting it everywhere now. It's all over social media. They doing they in the pornographic industry doing all this crazy shit now. So they don't care, but they don't. They also a lot of these kids don't understand. This a whole nother show. Hey, we got to get the hell up out of here, man. It's an hour. We
I was
always
trying
do this
to
shit.
tell you we didn't have, but you were rolling, brother, so I didn't bother you. But I was trying to tell you we didn't have but 50 seconds. And that was a minute and something ago now. So you were riding. I gotta let you ride.
Go ahead and plug your stuff. We gotta go. Plug your stuff. Come on, plug your stuff.
Oh, okay. ProfAEDixon.com, BlackSeminoleProject.com. The books Up from Incarceration, Florida's Negro War, which he's holding up, and a timeline of the African diaspora experience in Florida, and which I've always said, that's Up from Incarceration, and which I've always said, if you live in Florida, that book, my third book, the timeline book, should be in every black household in Florida. It is a simple timeline. Open it up for me so I can get people to understand what we're talking about here. Please, sir. It is a straightforward timeline of black history in Florida. We just go through the different periods in Florida history, and we just talk about the different events that happen with blacks. And you got he didn't show it there, but it got some nice pictures in it too of some people and some things that you probably had never heard of. So like I said, if you're in Florida, this should be in every black household because it is no longer available in the public school system. It was, but it is no longer available. So it's our duty, our responsibility to learn this as adults and share this with our children and have our children understand this. Because as the great Marva Collins proved years ago, cultural reinforcements are just as good and just as important as the information itself in learning. And if we don't give these cultural reinforcements to our children, if we don't give them and let them see positive black teachers, particularly positive black male teachers who are math teachers, science teachers, history teachers, social studies teachers, we are lessening their chance at being the most successful. But also we are helping this negative phenomenon where we continue to believe that being educated means being white. And it's because white American culture is so inundated in the school system. But if we continue to impart these cultural reinforcements for our own children, then we show them black scientists, we show them black mathematicians, we show them how you can create your own niche out there in the things that you like. You can combine your education with the things that you like to do. But it's got to be backed up with this cultural reinforcement of who you are. Then we can stop our children from believing that being educated means being white. Because
That's
we
right.
got to.
That's
We
right.
got
Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, ladies and
please
gentlemen,
go to profaedixon.com, but also our current project, Black Seminole Project. This is a story that has to be told. This is the story about the first Underground Railroad where blacks were freeing themselves on their own volition. This is the story of the largest slave rebellion or enslaved rebellion where they said no, not today. I see that slogan all the time now on different
they
t-shirts and whatnot, where they not only said it, they did it.
right.
7 years, but they did it. The U.S. military gave up and said, okay, okay, okay. If you just leave Florida and go out west, you can have your freedom. Just go, please. You no, we done. We won't fight anymore. We
That's right.
won't we won't try to enslave you anymore. And these are the things that our children and our young people and our old
Need to
people,
know.
our elderly people, not old people, excuse me, our elderly people, they need to hear. They need to know. They need to watch this story. They need to look at the documentary. They need to go see the film. They need to see what we can do if we only come together and unify.
That's right.
And so I'm done. God bless. One love.
Dope, dope, dope. Man, we love you, AE. We love it. So anyway, guys, that's the conclusion. That's the show for the night. Now we get to my favorite part. AE gave you the closing. So I get to do my favorite part now. So come on, check it out.
I'm with you.
The wheel
The wheel
is
is
yours.
it is yours.
Hey, we'll be back on. We'll holler at y'all. Peace. Always keep it real with entertainment and edutainment. Peace. Yeah.